Hello and welcome to Three in a Bed, brought to you by William Hill, the proud sponsor of the World Darts Championship. My name's Mackenzie Cadman, and here on the show today we have the man himself, Mace the Ace, Chris Mason. Welcome to the show. So, Premier League, last week this week. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know, I like the 11-1 about Phil Taylor.
Yeah,
I can't remember ever seeing him at odds like that, and he's been finding a bit of form, and his form in the Premier League started off a little bit iffy, but towards the end I think he found his feet, and I think he looks relaxed and fancies a job. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it.
There's been a few players that started off a bit iffy. Dave Chisnell, he's came through, he's played really well now towards the last couple of weeks. He struggled, and he's played really well. Shame not to get through to the top four.
Well, he nearly pulled off the impossible, didn't he? I mean, it was mathematically a chance he could make the final four, but it was a big ask, and he very nearly did it. He just sort of, I think he had a draw with MVG that he should have won, and then another game where he was very comfortable, and then just sort of fell off towards the end of the match. But yeah, puts him in good stead for the rest of the season, and probably gets him prepared for the rest of the season in terms of TV events.
I think you can add Adrian Lewis as well to into that bracket. I mean, they both started off with the same kind of level in the Premier League this year, around the 5th and the 6th area. Adrian's dropped off. He hit a 9-darter. Everyone loved that one. But it's a bit of a shame for him, I think, this Premier League season. Yeah,
I can't put my finger on why he seems to have gone off the boil, but he definitely has. He's you watch him play some games, and you just don't understand how he can lose. And then, as we've seen in the last sort of months, he goes missing, and then pops up and it's a 9-darter, which is great for the people there, but it's points, not 9-darters he needed. But for me, if I was him, I'd be disappointed. He's definitely up around the sort of top 4, although there is only 4 places obviously available. But yeah, he'd be disappointed. I think he needs a big push this season, because he's not won anything for a while, and that's always a little bit of a worrying sign for someone who has been so prolific.
Do you think it's the expectation with him as well? He's obviously a 2-time world champion. I see it when he's up on the stage. It's a big 180 and he gives it the big one. Is that trying to G himself up? Is this what he's trying to do?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they do that. They're meant to. They're meant to hit 180s. I can still hit 180s, and that's what you're meant to do. That's the job. And I think sometimes they can leave a little bit too much on stage when they're too emotional. But it's hard, I suppose, in that situation when the adrenaline's bubbling, and you sometimes do it to try and get your opponent's nose a little bit and get a reaction. Yeah. But yeah, he needs a big season. It's a worrying time for him at the minute. He's just not winning enough, and he needs to, even if it's just winning on the Pro Tour. He's not had many wins on there in the last 12 months. So it's something to look at. Maybe it's applying himself a little bit more practice, maybe a little bit more professional, and then we might see the results, because the talent isn't up for debate. Yeah. And you mentioned the man earlier, the man himself, all the experience, Phil Taylor. He obviously is not playing the Players' Championship. He's not playing the big European tours at the moment. Does that benefit him when he comes to a Thursday night in the Premier League? I think he'll miss out on the actual competitive practice, but he's coming up. He's nearly 30 years he's been a pro, so and he's a 16-time world champion and won all the other events multiple times. So it's not like we can sort of question, how his preparation is. But I agree. I think we spoke about it earlier. I think he's relaxed. I think he'll be full of energy. What everybody else has been, as we're going to discuss, travelling all over Europe and Gibraltar and Challenge Tour weekends. So he will have a lot in the tank, and I think he relishes being the outsider. I mean, how the bookies put him at 11-1, I just honestly can't see it. I think that's huge.
I think he's enjoying his life at the moment. He's enjoying his last year. He's really taken everything in his stride, and I think you've seen it the last couple of games. He's beat Gary Anderson. He's beat Michael van Gerwen.
Again.
He really is playing well.
And his averages are good. It's not like they're not playing well against him. He's putting them under it by his performances. And as you said, the last 3 or 4 matches he's been up round over the 100 mark, and when he's in that kind of form, he's dangerous. And let's not forget, although he might not be at his best anymore, but he's still Phil Taylor, and he still owns a winning record over all of them. And he's given them all plenty of lessons up there, and that'll be in their mind. They won't, even MVG. He's not. It's not, you can't get to him. You can get to him, and Phil knows exactly how to get to him, which is why he's got a good record against him. I mean, he beat him twice in that BBC event that was on Champions League, which we talked about earlier, and he's beat him in the Premier League. So he knows how to beat him. It's going to be a great night.
As much as the people say they're not scared of him anymore, they're not scared of his presence on stage, they are. Yeah. I think they are. I mean, he's this player where he steps on the stage, the whole crowd love him.
Yeah.
And now you've got 10,000 people singing his name, and you've got tops left. Sometimes that's hard to face.
Yeah, and he's just beating the great man. It's just that winning line when you've got him, it's converting, and we've seen it so many times where players of all levels and experience. When he's actually in front of you and you've got that chance to beat him, he's a legend. And it does get to you. I don't care what they say, it will. And he will be the crowd favourite. It's his last year on tour, you know. So all the fans will want to sort of like, they want him to bow out with a win. And I hope he does. I hope he wins something before he calls it a day, because that'd be quite sad if he sort of went out with a whimper rather than a bang.
Moving on to the man himself, Peter Wright. He's obviously won the UK Open this year. He's winning European titles left, right and centre, Players' Championship. Do you think he's got it in him Thursday night to beat Phil first and then go on and either beat Gary or Michael?
Tough ask.
Yeah.
Tough ask, yeah. So, you know, two of the best players in the world and beaten in consecutive games on the same night. I just don't see. I think he needs to find another 5 or 6 points on his average.
Okay.
Not saying that's impossible, because we know he can do it. He's won many times, as you've just said. So, you know, he's got that in his locker. But on a night over a longer race, best of 19 and then best of 21 in the final, no, I can't see it.
They obviously give you confidence winning these Players' Championship and European Tours, but how much different is it moving from that on a Saturday and a weekend to the Premier League on a Thursday?
Night and day. Yeah, night and day. Like I say, it's going to be 10,000 plus in there. It's a real prestigious major title.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying the Pro Tours there are to win, but you know, it's behind closed doors. It's, you know, nice and relaxed. There's no crowd. A pretty flat atmosphere, and you just literally get on. It's your job.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they're in their corner, and that's where they improve their ranking positions and whatnot. But yeah, night and day, playing on TV and then playing in a sports centre behind closed doors. Yeah, it's totally different. Although it's nice now that we're getting it streamed and people can watch it. So you've got that little bit of added pressure, especially if you're in a big tight game. But I think it's great preparation. It sets you up. It's sort of indicates where your form is. I think that's what I always think. Coming up to a TV tournament, if my form was good in those events, it gives you a lot of encouragement for the TV games. But to beat two players of that level in that atmosphere, I think it's going to be a tough ask for Peter. Not impossible, but I'd be surprised.
Michael and Gary. Now, these two players, obviously they've got to play each other. They played each other last week. Gary hasn't been on a lot of good form the last couple of weeks. But how do you see that panning out in the semi-final? Yeah,
I'm a bit worried for Gary's form. He's not playing well at all, is he? He sort of limped over the line in the end, didn't he? He just about did enough. But you know, he's another player who's got so much talent, and his A game is a match for anyone's, including Michael's. I mean, when they're both at their best, it's a coin flip.
It's brilliant to watch. You know, I think when I watch Gary himself, it feels to me like he's got a switch. He can play like he can against other players, and then as soon as he comes to the Phil Taylors, the Peter Wrights, the Michael Van Gogh, he needs to switch on that switch. And if he does that on Thursday, we're going to get great sceptical.
Well, he knows how to win it. He's won it twice, hasn't he? So he knows how to win it more than anybody. He's won the World Championships. He's won other events. So yeah, you can never count him out. And you know, if anyone's going to pull off the surprise, you'd think it would be him to beat Michael, because he does have that A game, but worryingly, his form hasn't sort of shown that. We've not seen any of those big monster averages, and you know, his trademark's a lot of 180s. Not been hitting a lot of those either. So you know, maybe it's a tiring schedule they've got. Maybe it's just getting to him a little bit. But you know, if you can't get up for that in front of 10,000 people, then
can you get up for?
Exactly, yeah. So he's in with the shout. I think for me, the outsider would be Peter Wright, though his form's probably in terms of success on the tour and ranking wins and ranking position, but I just think he would have to find another gear to compete against those other three players.
Yeah. And Michael, so is Michael your favourite going into Thursday? Yeah,
I think he's 4-7. I think he was quoted at 4-7 this morning, and rightly so. He's had the weekend off, hasn't he? He didn't travel. No. So that'll keep him fresh, I think, for Thursday, and he would have needed that. I know he doesn't practice at home, doesn't even have a dartboard up. So he'll be keen on Wednesday when they all arrive, and you'll have a good, 2, maybe 3 hour session on the board, 2 sessions a day, and yeah, he's the right favourite for me. He's the best player in the world at the moment.
Okay, it's obviously going to be a brilliant night Thursday. Moving on to next season in the Premier League, who, in terms, obviously we've seen Jelle Klassen and Kim Huybrechts fall out at the start. Who do you think could maybe follow them into their position next year if they're not in the...
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised by the fact they both got put in, because previously they'd done no good in the event either. So, maybe it was down to nationality, viewing figures, whatever else. But yeah, for me, they didn't really add a lot. And obviously, Jelle had a wrist injury, which he's waiting to have an operation on now. Kim lost his mother, so
sadly.
Yeah, there's always things that, away from darts that probably people don't realise what's going on.
Well.
But yeah, I'd like to see him go with somebody like, I don't know, Daryl Gurney or a Gerwen Price. Add a bit of spice in there, you know.
Someone
who's going to rattle their cages a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, for me, it's a bit sterile at times. It lacks that, a bit of imagination.
Yeah.
I think it's because we're seeing the same players. That's not their fault. That's because they're a ranking position. But yeah, I'd like to see him mix it up a little bit, and I'd like to see a Gerwen Price in there because he's fearless. He don't mind getting under people's skin.
Yeah, him and Adrian have had a few tosses in the past. With Daryl Gurney himself, Super Chin, he's consistently playing well.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think he has to do to actually get himself into that platform, into the Premier League?
Again, I think it's just down to lifestyle, preparation, commitment. Just taking care of yourself and literally just putting it all on the line. You've got to make sacrifices. When you don't, those days when you don't want to have 3 hours on the dartboard, you just got to make yourself do it. But they should want to do it. They're in a, when we were playing back in my day, there wasn't really a lot to play for. We had like 4 or 5 TV tournaments a year, and that was it. We were trudging all over North America trying to chase like a couple of grand. Nowadays they've, it's great money. Everything's there. All the spoils is there. The accolades, the recognition, and more importantly, the money.
Yeah.
I think Michael's up to $2.5 million in prize money in the last 2 years. That's phenomenal. Yeah. Never mind what he earns outside, the exhibitions and promotional stuff. So yeah, all the spoils are there, and I think it's just application. I mean, certain players can only get to a certain level. That's their ability. But with someone like Gurney, he definitely showed signs of it the last couple of years that he does have another gear, and I'd like to see. I think it'd be great for him as well. I think it'd be great for the tournament to see someone different in there. I think Mensah was meant to take part, but again, I think he turned it down, which is incredible. But understanding with all the travelling involved, a lot of people don't realise you've got to be there Wednesday as well. It's not a case of just rolling up on the Thursday. You've got to be there Wednesday at a certain time, do all the press. Yeah. You've got a young family, so you can sort of understand why he turned it down. But yeah, chuck Gerwen Price and Daryl Gurney in there and see how they fare.
The globalisation of darts at the moment is growing. Darts in such a good place, and that kind of helps through with the Players' Championship. You see these players coming through with tour cards now, and they get the chance to go against the big boys. And in terms of the Players' Championship, we're seeing people like Daryl Gurney take Players' Championship titles now. So, for you, how good is the Players' Championship structure, and who are the players coming through that you think towards the end of this year we're going to see a bit more of?
Well, I think the Challenge Tour, which has again been on this weekend, that's a fascinating one. When you've got sort of like older players like Peter Jacks, who I've known for years, who's just all of a sudden, I mean, he was a great county player, and that's about it really. Win a few opens here and there, but what he's been doing is incredible. Yeah. For a guy, especially an older guy. When you're younger, it's different. Got more energy. You're up for it. But yeah, I think the Pro Tour for me, it's just such a great opportunity. It's such a great environment to play in. Every oche is the same. Brand new boards. You don't have to worry about chalking or marking. That's all done for you. It's all done professional. It's completely silent in there, and it's a perfect environment to play darts. And it's that's where they learn their trade. Well, more so now, they've got the Challenge Tour, so you've got all the young kids in that, and then a few of the older lads that have seen Wayne Jones win one and make a final this weekend. So it's great. You don't have to, it's not a case of then going back and playing sort of chasing little opens all up and down the country. There's now a structure, there's a tier system. So the players that have, sort of fell off and fell out of the rankings, or maybe a year out of the sport,
still have a chance.
They can still go now and play in the Challenge Tour, and if I think it's the top 2 get their cards, is it, or top 1?
Yeah, last year was Ryan Searle and Rob Cross.
Rob Cross, I mean, look what he's done in the last 12 months.
He really is taking the world of darts by storm at the moment, and he's come out of nowhere, really. Yep. He had a really good season, a really good tournament at the UK Open a couple of years back.
Yeah, well, that was the first time we sort of heard of him.
And now he beat Dave Chisholm on the weekend 6-2. He's been taking out some big names. How good is he playing at the moment?
Well, he must be playing fabulous. And when the stats that we can get hold of, he's not shy of averaging 100 plus, is he? He keeps turning them numbers up with regularity, which means he's a force. And a nice kid. He's unassuming, stays out of the limelight. Like we say, he could be sat in here and we wouldn't even know he was here. He's but what a talent! What a talent! And the last 2 years, how he's gone from sort of a fringe, maybe county player, He's now sort of competing with the best in the world and taking scalps.
But how good is that for darts in terms of there's people now that are coming out of nowhere and all of a sudden, like Rob Cross, he's up in the skies. He's really going for it. Is that what Barry Hone and the PDC are trying to bring?
Well, that's what they have done. You know, we've got to find another Phil Taylor. We've got another find Van Gogh. We've got to find another Barneveld. You know, and they're all going to come through this system.
Yeah.
You know, years ago it would have been in the BDO. We'd have to, you know, they'd start off Super League, County, pick for England, try and qualify for Lakeside, etc. And then you sort of build from that. Where now, you know, Barry did try to get involved with the BDO, and they said no, which is fair enough. So he's gone away and created his own, you know, with his own challenge tour, and then obviously the pro tour, which is gone on, and it's brilliant. That is our next generation. You know, Rob Cross could be a top 8 player. You know, there's no if he carries on making progress. And the frightening thing is, if you go and watch, there's loads of them.
Yeah.
There is literally loads and loads and loads of players like him just waiting to make that next step. Some will, some won't, but it's exciting times. I mean, it's out of this, you know, Barry's going to create an absolute monster. He's going to come out of this pack and absolutely take the game by storm. Yeah. It's just law of averages going to happen. We said we'd never see anybody like Phil Taylor, and then boom, MVG.
Yeah. Rob Cross. How much of a difficulty is it for players such as Chisnell, Peter Wright, to stand on the stage with a guy that they don't really know, and to be awakened by a guy that's hitting 102 average on a stage where they're comfortable and this guy's not really bothered? How hard is that to play against?
Well, when you actually don't, I mean, now they'll be fully aware of him, but initially, when that happens, you say, who am I playing? Do you know him? Is he any good?
Yeah.
You know, you do your research, you know, so you want to find out who it is. It's a bit like, you know, a boxer wouldn't, you know, he'd find some videotape somewhere of the guy just to see how good he is. Yeah. And it's the same thing with darts, but with darts, there wouldn't be any footage. So that run he had, I think Barry Lynn had a run at the same time in the UK Open. It was 2 years ago. Unfortunately for Barry, he wasn't quite able to carry that on, where Rob Cross is just literally, but slow steps, you know, steady, building up, learning his trade, and now he's sort of established himself as potentially a top 32 player, which in that field nowadays, being in the top 32 takes some doing. I mean, you look at the players that are just sort of drifting in and out and around 32, like Andy Hamilton, he's gone. I don't even know where he's ranked now. And that's how easy it is. That's how quick it can happen. A bad 6 months in this sport, and it's almost becomes, it's almost like addictive. Okay. It's one of them things you just can't stop it. It's like sliding and sliding and sliding. You just can't put the brakes on. And there's a lot of players out there. You know, your Kevin Painters. They got to find a good season from somewhere. But again, we have got this next generation coming through, and again, it is your people like your Rob Crosses, and who knows where Peter Jacks can go. Can Wayne Jones make a comeback? You know, there's loads of options out there for all the players. It's a fabulous time for not just the sport, but you know, the players as well, because they've got every opportunity. There's no excuses. You know, there's no excuses why now you can't seriously say, right, this is my job. You know, the money's there.
It's a living for people.
Yeah.
It's a great way with the Challenge Tour, with the Players Championship, the European Tour. It's a great way for these players to come through, and maybe we can find the next Phil Taylor and the next Marco van Gogh.
There's one out there. Well, there's many of them out there,
and I think that's brilliant for the PDC, and that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
so it should be good for darts.
Well, that's one thing they have done. You know, we started off with the Players Association and you know, trying to make the players more professional, understand their position, and now it's more so because there's so much of it on TV. You know, every weekend it's either streamed or it's on Sky, it's on ITV. BBC put their hat in the pile as well. So it's a great time, and it is. You know, a lot of these players now have got managers, and they're equally as responsible. Right. And they have got to make them more professional. You know, as professional as you can be, and it is a job with great rewards. I mean, the top lads now are multi-millionaires, all out from throwing 3 bits of tungsten at a board. It's mad.
So Chris, what are your predictions for this Thursday night? Well,
I'm going to have a little bit of an investment on Phil Taylor at 11-1. I think that's just too big a price to ignore. And I'll probably have a little go on a 9-darter.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we might see a 9, longer format. So I think we might see a 9-darter off somebody.
Can I push you for a name?
Nah. Any of them, quite possibly. We might even see 2. Yeah, I fancy a 9-darter. We haven't had one on TV as in the Premier League for a while, in a final. So it'd be yeah, I think everybody's going to be up for it. They're all well rested. Yeah, so I'm going to have a little bit on Taylor at 11-1 and a 9-darter.
Okay, well this week my back with Mac is both games, Michael van Gerwen versus Gary Anderson and Peter Wright versus Phil Taylor, both players to get more than 7 legs in the game. And then I'm also going to have a dabble on Phil Taylor at 11-1. It's too much to miss. And I can really see him. He's had a week off. They've all been playing on the European tour. I think Taylor's going to do it. Thanks again, Chris.
Pleasure.
Thank you. And that's it for this week on 3 in a Bread, brought to you by William Hill, the proud sponsor of the World Darts Championship. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much.